Hello, fellow patriots, and welcome back to Red Rights and You. Now grab your MAGA hats and stay away from sharp objects because the left is at it again. Yes, after 100 days of President Trump doing exactly what he said he would do, they're still out there flailing like fish out of water, baffled that following through on campaign promises isn't a threat to democracy. It's literally the job. Now, first they shrieked about egg prices like we were all trapped in a Mad Max omelet apocalypse. Then groceries, then gas. And now fast forward 3 weeks, prices have dropped. It's almost as if markets respond to confidence and leadership. But hey, who are we to let basic economics get in the way of a good panic? And speaking of panic, remember when Biden couldn't free a single hostage abroad unless he included a check for $6 billion and a fruit basket? And then Trump waltzes in and boom, 47 hostages freed. No pallets of cash, no side deals with Qatar, just good old-fashioned negotiation. And by negotiation, I mean strength. Now they've suddenly discovered a deep passion for due process when it comes to illegal aliens. Funny, I don't recall this energy when Obama was setting the all-time record with 5.3 million deportations. Not a peep from the humanitarian crowd. I guess back then deportation was progressive. Next, it was the economy. The stock market's gonna crash. We'll all be bartering canned beans in a ditch. But surprise, the market's rebounded like CNN's ratings after a Trump tweet. And now Trump's destroying the world economy preemptively. You heard that right. Trade deals haven't even hit the runway, and already they're crying Armageddon. Chicken Little has a podcast now, apparently, and it's just nonstop squawking. Look, even if Trump does hit a few potholes on this highway of greatness, let's be honest. Half a Trump presidency still beats 2 full terms of thumb twiddling and excuse making. At least this guy reads the GPS and drives the car. But before we dive into all that beautiful, glorious winning, it's time to bring in the co-pilot of the Star-Spangled Rocket Ship. He's the Yoda to my Vader, the bourbon to my barbecue, the only man in America with stronger opinions than my Aunt Karen at a MAGA rally. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, the magnanimous, the magnificent Mark Mosgrove. Mark, thank you for being here again this week. What have you been pontificating in that brilliant political mind of yours? How are you doing today?
I'm doing terrible, just absolutely terrible.
What's up?
Well, Tim Walz let everybody know this week that Kamala Harris was the most qualified presidential candidate in the history of our country. And I am bummed because we totally missed out on that. I mean, she would have been better than, let's see, George Washington. She would have been better than John Adams. She was better than Thomas Jefferson. All those people were not qualified compared to her. I mean, even Dwight D. Eisenhower, who ran the Allied forces in World War II, not as qualified as Kamala. So we really the bed by not picking her. I'm just devastated that Tim let us know that. What do you think?
Yeah, I've always thought what a gifted orator, and she has that charisma and personality, and obviously highly intelligent, really in touch with current events, gives long, detailed answers when she's confronted in an interview. Really slick. I'm shocked. I'm glad because I am a Trump guy, but she is one of the hidden geniuses of our day and age, Mark. She is really something.
We really missed the opportunity. Now, if you would had said, fill in the blank, Kamala Harris is the most blank presidential candidate in the history of our country, would the first word that come to your head be qualified?
No, but you're close. It would be unqualified. So, I mean, just two minor little letters.
Maybe
there.
he misspoke, or maybe there was a hiccup in the upload on the video where the un part got blocked out. I don't know. But I would like to say for our viewers that we had a lot of fun last weekend filming a Star Wars spoof where we talked about politics with a Star Wars slant. We laughed so hard we couldn't even get through the videos. And if you haven't seen them, look them up. And I guess there's probably a way we could put the links down there to see them. We want you to share all of these videos, but that's a good one to share because it's everybody who's watched it laughs hysterically. And so help us try to get that word out. What was the name of the video again, Tim?
It was May the 4th be with you. We put out two features. May the 4th. We're doing them for May the 4th, but we released them a couple days early. So the first one was May the 4th be with you, episode 1. And then the second was May the 4th be with you, episode 1, special edition. It's true Star Wars fashion where they give you alternate with minor variations. And they were funny. Well, they were funny to us because we were totally out of character having fun, and hopefully other people liked them too. But I know there's those of you out there that actually tune in just to see our political viewpoints. We take that very seriously. But every once in a while, you got to cut loose. Hopefully we're not offending anybody by doing that. But whether you like Star Wars or not, if you remember the old Darth Vader and Yoda, we did that. Comment, let us know what you think about it. We're certainly not going to give up the political discussions. We enjoy bantering that about, but we definitely want to have a little fun every now and again. But
we did it a week ago, just posted the other day. I was kind of disappointed because we missed an opportunity because we talked about all of these characters, these Democrat characters in a Star Wars prism, but we did not talk about Kamala Harris. And after this week, when she gave the speech, we really missed the opportunity because I was thinking, you remember this guy, Jar Jar Binks?
Yeah, I do remember.
We should have thrown a Jar Jar Harris reference in there because it's just so fitting. She spoke the other day and she was up there and I can just picture her being Jar Jar Harris with the big floppy ears. And she's saying terrible things are going to happen. Terrible things. We could have had fun with that. But even if we don't, it's just fun watching her because just like she was out there the other day, Jar Jar Harris saying, used to seeing those elephants he's out there. You can't make this stuff up.
I've got to tell you, Mark, these people, is it like a sideshow at a circus? These people that they march out there? And somebody like her running for president, you think that's absurd. That's insane. How could anybody vote for something like that? And then you see this guy that looks like he's 18 years old with a bad wig on, that the Indian guy in Congress, we need to impeach President Trump. And the guy's 70 years old and he speaks. It's like, how in that Hawaiian senator and these people that get in there and their antics, it's just amazing that these people are in politics. And what is more astounding to me, and we've talked about this, what's way more astounding than these people coming in is there is a majority of people in their districts that are actually voting these in. So first of all, I think, what the hell was their opponent like?
Yeah.
And secondly, I'm thinking, what kind of a skewed outlook do these people have on the United States and policy that they would vote some of these absolute maniacs in? The one thing that has really been exposed with this whole election, and now that mainstream media has been exposed for what they are, one thing that really has come to light is all the crazy, insane shit that's happening. It is nuts. And I know you had some thoughts on DOGE the other night. Fox did an interview, I think it was Jesse Waters, and they had more of an example. I think Brett Baer did one earlier with Elon and some of the top older guys, and everybody's like, where's big balls? Where's big balls, right? And this time he had some of the younger guys on. And I don't know about you, but I was really impressed by the depth and the knowledge and the insight that these people were giving during that interview. What did you think about that?
Well, I think actually they've just scratched the surface. When you have a bureaucracy that's so big, and it's fair to say it's the biggest government bureaucracy in the history of the world, because the United States, most powerful country in the world. But even when you go to the DOGE website, they have, and everybody should go, even if a Democrat who thinks it's terrible. It's very informational in the aspect that you can go in there and you can see the departments. I've talked about this before, like this department has this amount of employees in it, then you click on it and it's the whole chain of command. And then there's departments that have departments under departments. And that's basically what they were talking about in that Jesse Waters interview, about the layer upon layer upon layer of government. So like they were saying, a cause for, can you think of an example, like operas in Argentina or whatever it was? Even if you thought we should support operas in Argentina and we're going to give them $2 million for operas in Argentina, by the time it actually gets to the operas in Argentina, are they even getting any of the money? Because you've got this department that gives the money to this department, that allocates it to this department, allocates it to this contractor, who allocates it to this. And all that administration, they're all getting paid. And when it gets down to the end of it, probably those poor folks that have the operas, just the absurdity of it. They're probably like, hey, you promised us money. Where is it? It all needs to be cut. And anybody out there who's conservative in their thinking, at least financially, let's not even talk about the social issues, but just the fiscal responsibility. I don't know how anybody would be for all of that waste. And we as conservative people, when it comes to fiscal responsibility, need to have more discussions with the Democrat people. Whenever you hear someone make a crack about DOGE, if you want to have a discussion, ask them, do you really like having money wasted? Even if they didn't cut the size of the government, at least the money could go to more useful purposes.
Right. They should redirect that money. It's becoming more and more obvious that this is a giant money laundering scheme. That doesn't surprise me so much, but don't you think they could have come up with some more believable things? The sex preferences of newts in Greece, or all these weird, far out stuff. You don't think that's going to draw people's attention? They obviously never thought they would ever be audited or anybody would ever look at it. You might as well be holding up big, giant signs with blood red letters that says, "We are stealing taxpayer money." It can't be any more obvious. And then they go in there and they're like, I don't know, I don't know what's going on. I mean, maybe I don't know anything about it, but then they look and they're renting out Caesar's Palace, big stadiums, and it's huge. That's tens of thousands of people just to have parties, private jets, and all this kind of stuff. And it will become evident. And I ask myself sometimes, why aren't they putting the hammer down right now? Why aren't they just saying, okay, the money path is easy to follow. Who's doing this? Who's doing what? But as much as I would like to say it's just a complete Democrat ploy, it's only the Democrats that are guilty of this. There's Republicans too. So I just don't think they want the collateral damage, right? Because they want to come out as being high and mighty. None of them ever did anything. Elon did say there are Republicans involved too, the Democrats on a much broader and larger scale, but there are Republicans as well. So it's not exclusive to Democrats or Republicans. We had Adam on, he's a local politician. He was talking about how once they get a hold of you down there in Washington, D.C., you're basically a puppet on either side of the aisle. And you either play the game or the game plays you, right? And you're out. Unfortunately, that's how it is. That's what's going on with Trump. They don't like somebody that's going to upset the apple cart. God forbid, if something were to happen to Donald Trump today, it's not like all these initiatives are going to go away. Vance would take over the presidency, and we like to think he would probably pretty much the same thing. But can they get to him? Who knows? Can he be bought? I don't know. We don't know what's in people's hearts. We don't know what's in people's minds. So the deep state, or whatever you want to call it, with people controlling this and that, globalists like Soros, it's not exclusive to Democrats. It's not that they're pro either way. They're pro control. So whether it's a Democrat or a Republican in there, and I'm not saying Donald Trump's squeaky clean either, but one thing is he does not need to take bribes. He does not need to take money. Right now, he's more tied up in what his legacy is going to be instead of how rich he can get. He's already plenty rich. His kids, kids, their kids, kids, they're not going to have to worry about money. He's more into what are people going to think of his presidency, because the only thing bigger than his wallet is his ego. I love what he's doing for the country, but whether you love his personality or hate his personality, he does have an ego, and it's very important to him how he will be remembered by the American people and by the world.
Right. Well, along those lines, and a name that came up in the news as an example of somebody who was a leader, actually, this person probably doesn't have an ego at all, possibly, but someone who also was in a leadership position who's been in the news a lot lately, and that's Bill Belichick, the former coach of the Patriots. He's been in the news the last few days because of his girlfriend who's could be his granddaughter. And you know, that's his business. He can date who he wants. That is his business. But it became an issue because she was basically in an interview with CBS calling the shots on how we could answer the questions. But Tim, you remember that Belichick was coach of the Browns in the mid early to mid 90s. No personality at all. Even back then, I used to call him Coach Mumbly. But the guy actually did decent with the Browns, even though the record may not show it. There were some extenuating circumstances there. But he was a leader of a team when he went to New England that won multiple Super Bowls. Now, you could say Tom Brady had a lot to do with it, but it doesn't matter. He still was a leader. And those people in New England, in Boston, they didn't care that he was Mr. No Personality at press conferences. They liked their team winning Super Bowls. They liked winning. You don't have to like the leader. So many players on that team didn't like Belichick. Okay? But they liked winning. Now, isn't that the same when it comes to Trump? Same thing. You don't have to like the person. I didn't like Trump for a lot of years. And if you see one of the first two videos, I was not a big Trump person myself. And I got into the reasons why. And I was like aghast that he would run again. But then I realized what he's trying to do. He's trying to fix our country. It keeps on my mind that 10 years from now, Social Security goes broke right when I can start collecting it. That's like in your face, where you realize that this ship is going to sink if someone doesn't pivot it from the iceberg. I just watched the Titanic. They reconstructed the Titanic. They did all these detailed scans. It was on National Geographic a couple weeks ago. Anybody interested in Titanic should watch that, because they took detailed scans of the wreckage of that ship, and they blow it up on the screen, and they're walking around, and they could even see serial numbers on bulkheads down in the ocean that were still there, that detail. And it's the same analogy. That ship was heading towards that iceberg, and it was doomed. The responsible thing to do is to steer away from the iceberg and not hit it. And the United States of America is like Titanic, on course for an iceberg. Now,
yeah, before you go any further, Mark, did you hear the story about the guy that jumped up out of his seat and he says the ship is going to sink? The ship is going to sink. The ship is going to sink. And after he said it about 15 times, they made him leave the theater.
Made him leave the theater.
It was the movie.
The movie. I know how this is going to end.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha.
No, I get it. But yeah, no, it's not like this is the first time a young woman has hooked up with an older guy.
Yeah.
Let's face it. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? The guy obviously is like, oh, wow, this girl is a knockout. I'm 73 years old or 80 or whatever they are. I'm not just talking about Belichick. And the woman, it's the money. And let's be honest, they all know. They know what the other wants. They can fool each other with hearts and flowers. Who was the girl who was with the 90-some-year-old guy?
Anna Nicole Smith.
Anna Nicole Smith. Same deal. Oh, no, it's not about the money. I just love him for who he is. Come on. That's like the guy saying, no, it's not because of her body and the way she looks. We really connect on an intellectual level. She helps me with finances. Now, even though this girl with Belichick is trying to give herself a lot more power and credibility than what she really has, it's the same old story. Man meets woman. Woman relies on man's money. Man gets himself a nice, good-looking girl to have on his arm and have his way with. She goes a little bit overboard, but that's their business. Guys don't think with their heads sometimes. I think we've all heard the rest of that story. But
well, again, it comes down to Belichick, Trump, same deal. Leaders of organizations, in this case, Trump's a leader of the United States. It's his job to make it efficient, to make it better, to have the long-term future of the country secured, to have the borders secured. And everyone who is going against that agenda, they're using other tactics. They're still talking about the father of the year from Maryland. I try not to engage with people on Facebook, but my wife has a little bit. Someone was just going off about how terrible Trump has deported these people without due process. Then my wife mentions that Obama deported however millions of people, and then the person's like, well, you don't know your research, and you've got the wrong stories, and you're listening to the wrong news. So I looked it up, and I found an ACLU article. ACLU, that's about as liberal as they get. And there was an article from May of 2014 where they were basically outraged that Obama's administration were deporting these people without due process.
Deporter-in-chief, the deporter-in-chief, that's what they called him.
The stats were 75. I've heard 85% in various things, but that article said 75% of the people deported had no hearing. They were just deported.
And
where was the outrage?
That's a little far-fetched, too, because numbers are saying he deported 5.2 or 5.3 million. So even if 25% of those people got a trial in due process,
millions.
What is that? That's over 1 million. Do you really think there were 1 million trials and this guy hired a lawyer, or he was appointed a lawyer, and they sat down and went through those trials? That's 1 million more than I heard of going on.
Yeah.
You think he would have seen 1 or 2 of them maybe in the news, or somebody was falsely deported, but no, they deported 5.3 million people, and not one of them was deported illegally and brought back because of due process. Isn't that a little strange? And that's all because Obama was handed a blank check. That guy could do anything he wanted and get away with it. So nobody ever scrutinized Obama. What he said was gospel. But with Trump, everything he does is scrutinized. Every move he makes. Everything.
Every single thing. And my wife and I have this little joke when it comes to the hypocrisy, sometimes in our relations with people or with the politics. Someone will jump all over you because of something you did, and then when you point out something that they did, which is the same, well, that's different. No matter what it is. It's like when you're divorced and you have children that you're co-parenting with your ex, which is very challenging. And as an example, you get a dog, and your ex berates you how dare you get a dog? So you get a dog that's 15 pounds and it's a shedless dog, and your ex berates you because your one daughter has allergies or asthma, and how terrible of a parent you are that you got a dog, a little 15-pound shedless dog. Couple years later, she gets married to a guy that has 4 huskies. Well, that's different.
Well, there's no better example of hypocrisy. And we'll end this. We'll make this short and sweet this week for everybody. But before we end, the ultimate in hypocrisy, and I'll tell you, I almost fell on the floor laughing. Chuck Schumer was up there talking to reporters, and he said, President Trump now has, where they get these polls, who knows? They just pull this shit out of midair. But President Trump now has the worst numbers of any sitting president for the last 30 years or whatever it was. And the reporter, without missing a beat, says, Mr. Schumer, isn't your approval rating right now at 17%? And in almost the same breath, he goes, well, polls, they come and go. They really don't matter. I'm like,
That's different.
Freaking, we're going to keep this PG or I'd be saying something much stronger. Are you freaking serious? In the same interview, in the next sentence.
Breath.
And that just shows you the kind of imbeciles and the kind of warped, sick thinking that we are hearing from the left. How anybody out there, and I know we get our fair share of trolls on this channel, and I get them on True Social and Facebook and things like that. But seriously, guys, seriously, can you really be that freaking blind? You cannot see these people working and what they're doing. You let a guy's narcissism and personality and things blind you so badly that you can't see the idiocy and the hypocrisy and everything working on the left. Is that really the kind of government you guys want in control of our country and leading the free world? I mean, think about that. You know, you may not appreciate it, but Trump winning that presidency is the best thing that has ever happened for any of us. And you may not realize it now, you'll realize it later. But like I said, even if that guy were batting 500 on all these initiatives, it sure as hell beats somebody coming in and either they've promised massive amounts of change and different this and that and the other, or they hardly promise anything. But what happens is they get in there, they're complacent. By the time they even get to anything, if they ever get to it on any of the promises to try and get it through Congress, it runs into red tape. And by the time it gets to the point where they might be able to do something, their term's over. So 4 years, 8 years, whatever it is. So even if Trump hits 500, which we know in baseball is pretty good, but if he did one little thing here, they're going to twist it and turn it and say he's this and he's that. But he is out there, the first president I've ever seen that has really tackled the mandate and the voters that voted for him, immigration, the economy, the price of eggs, gas, everything. He's just going through them every day. He's taking action. He's not sitting on his ass doing nothing. So I would just hope everybody would look beyond his personality. I mean, some of the stuff he says, yeah, I cringe too, man. And Mark, I know you do. It's not like we think the guy is walking on water, but he is truly trying to do something, which is more than I can say for any other president that, at least in my lifetime, I've seen.
I agree. And I would like to end what I have to say back to the Titanic analogy is imagine that Titanic going through the ocean and the captain or somebody in charge is saying, there's icebergs ahead and we need to change course. And the guy is probably the biggest jerk there is. And it's like, I can't stand that guy. He's terrible. And if we're going to believe what he says, no, we're going full speed ahead. We're going to just keep that boat going because we want to get to New York at 8 o'clock in the morning on such and such a day. And if we do what he says, then it might add 6 hours to the journey. And what an a-hole for suggesting such a thing. That's Trump with America right now. People, we are on the Titanic heading towards an iceberg. And the problem is that people don't see that if the jerk is saying, let's just say he's a jerk. I'm not saying he is, but just say he is. If the jerk is saying we need to do this in order to avoid the iceberg, and then we do stray and miss the iceberg, everybody's going to be crabbing when they get to the dock at New York. My God, it was 6 hours late.
That's a great analogy.
Sometimes the right thing prevents bad things from happening. You don't know the icebergs that you miss. Just like someone being in a car accident. We know people, we've had people close to us, family members who have died in car accidents. But we don't know how many car accidents we've missed. We don't know if we decided today, okay, we're just not going to go today or whatever. You don't know the icebergs that you missed.
And the bonus is the good things that happen along the way because of that are just, no pun intended, but icing on the cake, right? Thank you so much again for being with us, Mark, as always. It's good having you here. It's good having these talks. Please keep tuning in, keep watching. We're always open to suggestions. If you haven't checked out the Star Wars one yet, we had fun. But let us know whether you like it or didn't like it. We're always open to suggestions. If anybody wants to do a live or be on the show or has anything to offer, we're open to it. We want to get as many people giving opinions as want to get involved. Until next time, stay the course. Stay strong, Mark.
You
and
too.
Stay patriotic. God bless you all, and God bless America. Mark, again, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.